welcome to another episode of the Z-CarCulture podcast. I'm Tino.
And I'm Kudzi.
And this is another special episode, but it's more special today because we are now in a new location. As you can tell, this is Afrotopia Cafe. Great place, great environment for young creatives like ourselves. So if you're looking for a space to work and also enjoy a good meal, Afrotopia is the place to be. And you're gonna be doing a lot more of these episodes in this space. So yeah, it's gonna be exciting.
Yes, definitely. So what do you have for us today?
So today, we're starting off on a bit of a sad note because the Nissan MP200 has just been discontinued. It's gonna end production in March 2024, and that's a 16-year run, believe it or not.
Yeah, since 16 years. How long is that? Since 2007?
I'm not going to do the math
8?
right now.
No, but it's been on the market for quite some time, and it's developed rather. It's people have developed an attachment to the car itself.
Yeah, which is weird because it came out, and even now it's just a utility vehicle, but it's a utility vehicle that a lot of people have like an attachment to, like what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Even right now, the place that I work at, there is an MP200, and this one is special because this one is the diesel version with the turbo diesel one, and that thing is actually quick. I'm telling you.
I would imagine because I think it weighs slightly over a ton, maybe.
Yeah,
like
it's quite light.
Yeah, 1.2 tons. So it's a very light car, and I think that it's a car that's served many purposes.
Exactly.
That's especially as a fleet vehicle, but also as like a beginner, like a first car for most people, utility runabout car. You can load a bunch of stuff in the back, and you have like reasonable space in the front. Yeah, it's just a quirky runabout.
Have you driven it before?
Never.
I have.
What?
Yeah, when I was on attachment, there was a company vehicle, and it was the MP200. I had a go in it a few times, and yeah,
How was it?
It feels light, like everything feels light from the clutch, the steering wheel, everything feels light. It does feel like a light car. So that's why I'm saying couple that with like a turbo diesel engine and it's just a rocket. But yeah, and you don't really feel that typical truck suspension phenomena, especially from the back, where if it's,
I don't think it's is it a body on frame?
I don't think it's a body
like
on
a
frame,
unibody,
It's
right?
a unibody, yeah. So you don't feel that, that stiff suspension in the back. So yeah, it's a cute little thing. Sad to see it go, but it'll be interesting what's going to replace it, if there's anything that's going to replace it.
Well, as for from Nissan, there hasn't been any official statement yet. They just said they will look into it, but I don't think there's anything in the pipeline just yet. And even in that segment, the car is a bit of a unicorn because it outlived most of its competitors. And now I think the only thing that's left is maybe the Opel or Chevy utility.
Yeah,
Which
I guess
is
so, yeah.
Yeah, so there's going to be a big hole in that market.
So RIP, but from a death to a birth, or should I say rebirth, we heard news of the new Golf GTI electric version. Well, we just saw the concept. With the pictures were online. I checked it out, and look, I mean, you and I. It's no secret that you and I are not really electric vehicle fans right now.
So I think we can just leave it.
Yeah, moving on.
But no, on a serious note, the Golf was the original hot hatch.
Yeah.
And for most people, it's a very iconic nomenclature. So I think that what Volkswagen is doing, I understand it. They're trying to, before they make the inevitable switch from internal combustion engines to electric, they're trying to ride that wave and just transition into the new EV era using the same, or the brand equity they built using the Golf.
Yeah. Which makes sense, I guess, but the question now is, can a hot hatch be electric? Because the whole point of a hot hatch is something that's supposed to be fun, engaging, well, not really light anymore with these new ones, but yeah, they were light before when they came out. So it sort of like goes against the ethos of a hot hatch. in the first place. So I don't know how it'll perform. I mean, that's something that we'll have to see with time. Maybe people gravitate towards it.
Well, I don't think EVs have a problem with performance. Rather, just the excitement might be gone.
That's always the issue.
And Volkswagen said something interesting that made me kind of laugh. This Golf, the EV Golf, is going to have a feature where you can play the soundtracks from previous Golf.
That just sounds so sad. Like,
yeah, it is. It's very sad. So, in that way, it makes me feel kind of ashamed or sad, even. Like, the Golf used to be this thing of excitement, but now they're kind of shifting or changing what it means to you, like what Golf means. I think they should have just come out with a different model altogether and try to make a new thing and not. Which it's sort of like sacrilege to the.
I thought that's what they were doing with the ID range, you know, the ID3 and the ID4. I thought that was the idea to have like a completely new platform, different name and everything. I don't know if they would then call it the ID3 GTI or whatever,
but the funny thing is, this new Golf GTI is actually based on the ID2.
Yeah, so
it was like they went out of their way to change what Golf means entirely. So I don't know what's going to go.
I guess it's just another Mustang Mach-E situation where you're betting on the brand value of that model. So yeah, we'll see how that goes. But yeah, moving from one side of the spectrum to the completely opposite side. Ferrari Purosangue. We never got a chance to talk about this.
And
so this is not the time.
I was not going to try and butcher that name live on the show right now. It's just a weird name, especially given that Ferrari is known to have these easy to pronounce and very almost sexy names. You know?
They're quite nice. I mean, you look at cars from back in the day, like Testarossa.
F12 is not particularly sexy, but the second part, the Berlinetta.
Exactly.
You know, the different spiders and cabriolets and so forth, and now you have this.
Or Daytona.
Yeah, Daytona. You know, it's always got that Italian flair to the name.
Even California. California is nice.
Yeah, it's all right, you know.
Yeah.
But now, this car, it's as weird as the name is, you know.
And the name is also not exactly, you know, it's controversial as well because the meaning apparently is purebred. But when you think Ferrari, the last thing you're thinking about is the big, heavy SUV.
And the irony.
Yeah, exactly. The irony is just right there. But yeah, okay, I've seen a few reviews already of this car. I remember the most recent one was a Throttle House episode. Where apparently it overheated a few times. Yeah, I did the whole Italian car thing. But apart from that, from my assessment, it's pretty much a jacked up GTC4 Lusso, if you want to think of it like that. So it was surprisingly impressive in terms of driving dynamics, and I guess that's what sets it apart from these other luxury high performance SUVs, apart from the price tag, which is 400,000 starting price. That's before options. Jeez.
And no one's going to complain. They're going to sell every last one of them. Like, they're just going to sell them like hotcakes.
Yeah, but then if you try to compare it now to these other brands we're talking about, Urus, it doesn't really compete because of the Urus. They had the chance to put a V12 in there, but they chose to just have a V8. So, yeah.
But then also with the Urus, it's important to note that it had to use the bones from another model within the group. And that model was not initially meant to have a V12. So they had to they were stuck. But then I guess that's the good side of having your own standalone model.
Exactly.
You can get to play around and choose specifically what proportions you want, what engines you want to put in there, and
so with initially when I first saw it, I wasn't too sure, and even now I'm not too sure. We're yet to see it in the flesh, and we're gonna see it in the flesh. We've got Mingas here. So when it does land, Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what it looks like. But yeah, they try to do a few things different, like having those suicide doors in the rear, and even the interior. It's got like this whole two cockpit design thing where you've got a screen for the passenger and the driver has his own
Just
thing.
like with the GT4 Lusso.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying, and it's a strict 4-seater. So yeah, they try to just pretty much.
They try to run away from the SUV.
And and
label.
they're not even calling it an SUV. They're calling it a
sports
activity vehicle, I believe.
It's more fun. It's an SAV.
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense.
It does not. But yeah, if you're looking at that whole group of high performance SUVs, I think this is like a different proposition. I'm sure something that comes close to this would be that DBX 707. That seems to be like a really good proposition too. Apart from that, we've got the cars that are a little bit down the scale, like the Alfa Romeo Stelvio. We had a chance to have a crack at that, and yeah, that's also quite impressive.
Yeah, it is. It is. And I'm interested to see how these cars are going to hold up in terms of value or just the perception over time. Because I know the one thing that SUVs struggle with is holding their value.
Especially if they're luxury models.
But I guess with the V12, it might go a certain length to preserve the value of this.
True. Because as engines are downsizing, it's something that's becoming more of a rarity.
Definitely.
But yeah, so those are the updates for this episode. As we jump into the main segment, this one is quite exciting because it's more for a wishful thinking type main segment.
If money was no issue.
Yeah, so what we're looking at today is USDM cars that would like in right-hand drive. By USDM, we're talking about United States domestic market. So cars that were made in the United States for the United States market. What if you could have those here in Zim, here in Africa, but in right-hand drive? So yeah, and there are a few companies that do these sort of conversions, but it's quite pricey.
Yeah, because most of the time it's the cost of the vehicle is almost similar to the cost of the conversion.
Yeah.
So you really have to commit to that decision. If you really want that, then you have to pay for it.
Hence why we're saying money no object. What would you have? And for me, I'm looking at Zim right now. When it comes to SUVs, what are you going to find?
Typical Fortuners.
Yeah, that's all you're going to find. Land
Everest,
Cruisers, Everest,
Emeralds.
That's
our landscape.
But what if you could have something bigger than all these cars? What if you could have a big old Escalade V? For me, okay, I'm not really an SUV guy, but I feel like if you're going to have an SUV, why not have something that's unique and that's big and bold?
Something that's vulgar.
Yeah, and you can't go wrong with a 6.2 liter V8.
Yeah, and you have to emphasize money no object because that thing drinks like a fish in the ocean. It's very thirsty and just brash from the sound it emits from the exhausts.
Yeah, they say it's like the loudest production SUV, I think. Like its exhaust is extremely loud.
And it's actually louder than the Corvette and the Camaro.
Yeah.
Which is it's baffling to think.
But it's not like those old American cars where it's just like plastic inside and everything. There's also a lot of tech happening inside, especially now with new Cadillacs. You look at the likes of even the sedan models like the CTSs and ATSs. Yeah, those are cars I'd love to have. But yeah, I'll stick to SUVs for now. What do you have?
Oh, for me, it's always been the Mustang.
Oh,
because it's the typical, American's archetype for a muscle car, right? Everyone just has that fantasy, or at least we as car people have the fantasy of if I could have a Mustang. But for me, it's not like a specific one. It's just because any in the range would do, from the classic, the GT500s, to the Eleanor, to even the what's the name of the SVT from the 90s?
Ooh, yeah, but not the 4-cylinder one.
Oh, definitely not one of those. So I think a Mustang is just a nice thing to have. And with the few that we've seen in Zim, of course they're left-hand drive, but they just have this presence because it's something that you're not used to seeing on Zimbabwean roads.
That's true.
So everyone just turns their heads, everyone's just trying to take a picture. people are pointing fingers at you. You just have this. You feel like a superstar,
True.
and you're a superstar on a budget.
So what are you trying to say about Saint Flo? Saint Flo has one.
I'm not trying to look for smoke right now. Leave me out of this.
But then sticking to muscle cars though, I'm just thinking now about the Dodge Challenger. I've always had a soft spot for that car, man. But I feel like as a Christian, driving a car called a Hellcat or a Demon or a Red Eye is just
try getting that name past your parents. Like, yeah, mom, I bought a new car. Which car did you buy?
It's called a Demon.
Yeah, it's certain things are still taboo. Yeah, but yeah, I think it's a good choice.
Definitely, I think I would go for that because like it's different, and I think sticking to those sort of cars, I think even Corvettes, no matter the generation from like the C5s and the current C8s, it's just something about those cars that you just don't find anywhere else. I feel like it's a little bit more sophisticated when it comes to like the older muscle cars, like the Mustang from yesteryear. I feel like these ones are a little bit more sophisticated and just I don't know why they got the rep of being like the old man's car or whatever, but
well, I think it's because of the delta in terms of the model range, because you obviously have like the base model, which is the typical LS3 6-liter V8, chrome wheels, just the typical garage setup, and I think that's the one that's been associated with the midlife crisis.
Yeah.
But as you go further up in the range, they get more interesting and distinct. But then I think from the C3 up to the C7, they did have like some primitive or rather lackluster technology. Because, for example, they still use the leaf spring in the back.
Yeah, that was always surprising.
That was always surprising.
And that material in the back, what was that? Like that's sort of like what materials I forget, but it's something that if you just touch it, it sort of like wobbles.
Oh, you mean the bumper, right?
Yeah, the bumper.
It's like legit plastic, 100% plastic.
That was
so
disconcerting.
Yeah, it's a bit. But if you factor in the price point of these things, they're so cheap. You can get 600 horsepower for the price of a GT6 Hilux.
True. I've only seen, I think, a few. But yeah, nothing much. Like, and we haven't even seen like the crazier versions. We just seen like the base models. No ZR1s, no 06s. Just the base. But even the base is just exciting on its own.
Yeah, and they're known for being very reliable, easy to fix, inexpensive almost. The only thing you have to deal with is fuel. But like we said, money no object.
Money no object. So if I was on Binga, I wouldn't even be importing these Rolls Royces because I feel like that's like.
It's the obvious,
the obvious
most
choice.
Obvious thing,
like,
yeah.
I would like import like these weird cars, like weird to us because nobody really sees these cars. But that's what I would do because who else?
If you want to feel more special, you have to go like that extra mile and go where no other person is going, and that brings me to my choice, my next choice. I think my selection is a bit broader. With this one, because I'm just going for any and every classic American vehicle, right? So forget the Mustangs because we talked about those, but anything from like the original Camaros, even the old Rat Rod. Rat Rod Fords and Duesenbergs, even the long cruisers, the Cadillac Eldorados from the 50s, the Ford Falcons. Like just these interesting, massive
vehicles. These are massive vehicles. We've seen a few like classic American classics here in Harare because there are like a few communities that have these cars. And yeah, it's interesting to see how wide and long and just how it's just crazy. It's just crazy. It was a different time.
Yeah, definitely it was. I think the one I like the most would have to be you remember the C2 Corvette, the one with the double
with the bubble at the back.
Yeah, I think those they always had this beauty about them, this sort of timeless design.
Especially if you have it in that, what was that blue color? Famous with that astronaut. I think that's the...
Is it the one they made for, is it Lance?
Yeah.
Is it Lance Armstrong?
Lance Armstrong or Buzz Aldrin, I don't know, one of the two. But I was like, there's a specific blue that you have with that car, and it just looks really, really good. I like it. But yeah, speaking of, okay, from jumping from old to new, I would go... Okay, I know we said that we don't like electric, but I'm still fond of the Rivian, to be honest. Hear me out.
Okay, you can have this one.
The Rivian R1T for me, if I had to go electric, is the exception. Why? Because they try to do things a little bit different. Because I know with electric cars, they always have to have some gimmick. But this is not really a gimmick per se. It's just a well-built truck. It's just...
And I guess the testament to what you're saying, I'm not particularly interested in those, but I've heard that they're able to hold their value much better than stuff like the Lucid, or I don't know what other electric cars are.
Oh, we've got the EV Hammer.
The EV Hammer, yeah, the F-150 Lightning.
Yeah.
The Rivian still holds its value as a second-hand proposition, which is very hard to pull off in the EV spectrum, if you think about it.
Yeah, because as soon as the next model comes out, or like an upgrade in tech, battery tech or anything like that, completely diminishes the value of the old thing. So yeah, this is now a testament to how the Rivian was built, and even the SUV version, the R1S. I feel like they're quite special vehicles to have, and yeah, if I were to have a list, I think that would definitely be on my list.
Okay, and then for me, my last selection, the Dodge Viper. Well, I mean, why not?
As a Christian, you can't have a Dodge Nyoka. That's no.
It's better than the Dodge Demon. I mean, if you're comparing things.
Okay, I'll give you that.
Yeah, it's a very macho He-Man.
Yeah, especially the older ones, which had no driver aids whatsoever, no ABS, no airbags, nothing, just you and the car. So if you
die like a man.
Yeah, you die with hair on your chest.
Yeah, and if I have to be specific, I think the SRT, the first SRT ACR from 2008.
It reminded me of Need for Speed Most Wanted.
Precisely. Isn't it Hot Pursuit?
Well, there was. I think the previous gen was the Most Wanted. Yeah, but yeah, it's pretty much the same.
It's pretty much the same flavor.
Yeah.
8.4 liter, 600 horsepower, enough downforce to compete with GT3 race cars, and still, I don't think it had too many nannies. And you have a 6-speed manual gearbox. So it's like, it ticks all the boxes for enthusiasts. It's got enough power, very different looks. It doesn't look like a lot of things on the road. Long hood, short dick, massive wing in the back.
Yeah.
The driver looks like they're almost sitting on the rear axle.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's a very interesting vehicle.
It's funny how you said it's got good power, but I've seen people tuning them to like 9 liters.
Some people are just like
2,000 horsepower, and like, geez.
Some people are not normal. I mean, I saw if you remember the show Tuned.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, with Matt Farah.
Yeah.
There was one guy with the latest generation. I think it's the 6th gen ACR twin turbo, making like 1,800 horsepower or something. And the thing would do burnouts in 4th gear.
Jeez.
So talk about excessive. But I think that's just, I guess it's a theme that goes with the Viper. It's just this car that's sort of out there, outlandish. And some people dismiss it for that, but for me, it just makes me want it more.
I think it's not just a theme for that, but I think it's a theme for American cars in general, which I think ties everything together that we've talked about. If you notice with all these cars we've mentioned about, the key theme here is excess, whether it's size or power, it's all about excess. So
no limits.
Yeah, no limits. Anything you want, you can get it. So I guess that's the thing with USDM cars, and that's why we like them so much and wish we could actually have them here, because they add a certain variety that we don't really see here on our roads. Our roads are predominantly Japanese, and Japanese are mainly conservative, so that's what we find. But yeah, if money was no object, that's definitely what we'll do.
Yeah, definitely. So I think with that, we can end this show.
Definitely, this has been so fun. And guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. Be sure to catch this podcast on all podcast platforms. And yeah, be sure to check out our social media too on Instagram and Facebook. And yeah, with that said, Z-CarCulture, we out.